While you may think you know everything about the issues and intrigue of matters arising in the society, there are many expositions that will shock, baffle, and even enlighten you. The exclusive gives you answers to some of the hidden works of success. It is revealing, informative, incisive, educative, investigative, and soul-lifting. Join us on this special episode of The Exclusive.
Hello viewers, it's another exciting episode of The Exclusive, and I am Korede Akitunde. Our focus today will be on the institution as ordained by God, which we know as marriage. According to Genesis chapter 2 verse 24, marriage is actually ordained between a man and a woman. And I have an exclusive couple here today. As you know that The Exclusive is a program that enlightens you about the deep thoughts of all what you see outside there. A couple married for 42 years now, and we deem it fit that you need to learn something from their life. I will introduce my couple after this short break.
Did you know Jesus said, "Go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost"? Did you know ACNN reaches out to all African, European, and Asian countries? Did you know ACNN produces programs that provides Bible-based solutions to your everyday need? Would you consider partnering with us in order to help us reach out to more souls? Then, become a part of ACNN TV Kingdom Investment Partnership. You can be a monthly or a yearly partner. To subscribe, make your partnership payment into this Zenith Bank account. Account name, Prada Communications Limited. Account number 1013267532. For more details and confirmation of your AKIP subscription, please call +234 703 2656544. You can also reach us via email. Together, we can reach the world with the undiluted Word of God.
Thank you for being there. This is The Exclusive, and I have Sir and Lady Jonas Ngozi Odocha as my couple for today's on The Exclusive. You are welcome, sir and ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Well, it's 42 years. Am I right, ma'am?
Yes, it is.
Okay, 42 years. And let me start with our father, Sir Jonas Odocha. You must have been very sure that this is your wife. So let's know, how did this journey of now 42 years started, sir?
Thank you very much. I think this is a very, very important question, and I need to address it very, very correctly. We actually started as childhood friends while we were in secondary school. She was in class 2, and I was in my lower 6th form, and that was in 1964. And then we met at the Students' Union meeting. And from that day, I knew I had virtually met somebody who should be my wife.
Oh,
And that remained so from that 1964 till we got married in 1977.
let me pop no small, sir. You met at a meeting, and well, someone will say, was that the purpose of going for the meeting?
No, it was a Students' Union meeting, actually.
All right.
I had heard of her before.
Okay.
Because my immediate elder brother was fond of her family then.
Okay.
And I had told me about her. But that meeting was just an opportunity for us to meet. And from there, yes.
So now, let's look at it. You are from which part of the country? From Imo State.
Yes, yes. And our schools were really close.
Okay, and she's also from the same place.
Oh, yes. From the same town,
From the
actually.
same town.
Okay.
It was a town meeting, Students' Union meeting of the town.
Can our viewers know the town? Let's.
Oh, yeah, sure. Overall,
Okay.
in
Mbise.
Mbise, Abombise local government of Imo State.
Okay.
And I was in government secondary school, Owerri, and she was in Anglican Girls Secondary School, Ebu, just neighboring town.
Okay.
After Owerri, next town is Ebu. So,
Okay. So
a lot of things were really.
So mommy has been an Anglican from
Oh,
Yes,
yes.
from birth.
From
that's
that.
good. So Ma, you as a lady then, was there something that attracted you to him after you met?
Actually, I wasn't a lady then, I was a girl. I was just 14.
Wow.
And, in those days, when students were serious, we used to have students' meetings during the holidays.
Okay.
And like he said, his elder brother was in New Era College in Port Harcourt, and we were living in Port Harcourt. So as a person from our town, he used to come to our house, and my mother loved him a lot. So we knew him. He was a nice, pleasant person. So that was why he said I had met the brother before who told him about me.
Okay. So at what point did the relationship start? Because from what I understand, you had a 13 years courtship. So at what point did this start, sir?
Let me just say this. After that meeting, we started writing letters at school. We started writing letters. And then during holidays, we would meet. I would be in their house, visit them in the house, and all that, yes. So.
Okay.
Let me tell you what happened.
Okay.
Actually, what happened was this. After that meeting, we
Yeah.
went back to school. And he was in Government College where I was in Able Girls.
Okay.
And there was this debating society
Debate.
that we had. So
Okay.
their school came to our school.
Okay.
And I wasn't supposed to be in that because it was Senior Debating Society.
Okay.
But I don't know how he managed, and I was called to come and see him. So, so that was how we. And then the next time we went to their school, and he wasn't my partner. Then all of a sudden, he became my partner. So throughout that period, we knew each other. And then when I went back, I wrote him to say thank you for all that you did. And then that was how the letter started.
Oh, we'll get back to know about letter
It's
writing.
really divine because she is me Mbalewe.
Okay.
And then when the MC was announcing partnerships, he called Mbakwe. So nobody stood up.
Okay.
So as soon as I knew they made a mistake, I had to make sure
Yes,
she
was
became my
correct.
partner as Mbalewe.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we'll take a short break, and I'm sure that the viewers are getting more interested about this. We'll look at the letter writing in those days, and now that is a text message. We'll be right back after the short break. Thank you.
On the program this week, our Bible reading is taken from John chapter 15 verse 5, which says, I am the vine, ye are the branches. Whoever abideth in me and I in him, the
It's good to know that you're still there, and this is the exclusive. And this episode, we have been talking with Sir and Lady Jonas Ngozi Odoche. Now, let's know how the issue of letter writing, because I want us to bring back the whole days, the ideas of those days where letter writing was flowing. Fortunately, I was also being able to, then when I was young, I've been a letter writing messenger between two people who love each other. How was courtship like? Looking at a courtship of 13 years, I mean, that is a very long one. In today's time, somebody will say if somebody courts you for 13 years, you need to get a certificate. So, how was it? What made it so long? Let me hear from you, sir.
Well, we were pretty young then. She was just 14 when we started, and I was 18.
Oh.
And we were in school. So, and the only means of communication then was by letter writing. And it became so religiously done that she will know when my letter will arrive, and I will know when hers will arrive. And if it did arrive at that particular point in time, then I will know something must have gone wrong somewhere.
How does the letter flow? Delivery?
Night post. No.
Through the post office.
Okay.
Yes, we have private mail bags.
Oh.
My school, PMB, Owerri, I think it used to be 1066. PMB 1066 Owerri. And she also, their school also had their own mail bag. So that, and letters were quite prompt. That's the difference between then and now. Things were really working effectively and efficiently. So letter writing, and in those days, students will brag about words being used in letter writing, Yes, and it was really fun, and yes, we enjoyed it.
So, Ma, let me hear your part of this letter writing. You received these letters. How do you feel then and responding?
Well, everybody knew him in my school.
Okay.
And so, like children, when we get his letter, my friends will come and say, "Hey, what did you write? What did you say?" And as time went on, one thing about him was that he was consistent. If my birthday is on Friday, he will start sending cards. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and everybody gets excited. Let's see how Friday's one, and he won't disappoint. The Friday one will just be wow. So that was how it was. And during the holidays, we could only see during the holidays, or probably there are things done at the school. And then during the holidays, he will come to my place. It was at the time it looked like as if he was part of the family. He would stay in the house. My mother would cook and he would eat and go home. And sometimes he would come and play Scrabbles with my siblings. So that's what I was then.
So you left school before she left school. How was still the communications then?
Thank you. That's a very good question again. I finished my high school in 1965. And then by 66, I had left for the University of Ibadan. And I still recall, I don't know whether she will still remember, but one of the letters she wrote me when I went to Ibadan, I know you are going to see undergraduates there, but remember you have somebody, And that letter was in my mind throughout my stay in UI then at the time. But there was the interruption of the Civil War in 1967. Okay. So I had to get back. And to show you how serious this was, I didn't want to leave Ibadan before I finished my Part 1 exams. And they were all worried over there in the east. And she was wondering why I hadn't come back like the other people who were running away out of. And do you know what she did? Part of her pocket money, she sent me in case money was the issue. Why I hadn't gotten transfer money to come back like other people.
Wow.
But she didn't know I was trying to make sure I tidied up before coming home. Yeah, just even at that age, when she was in school, she could think of sparing her pocket money to send to me from Owerri to Ibadan, so that I would have money to come back instead of being killed outside Igbo land. Yes. So we had that, and then, so the 1 years we were also sort of together, and yes, and then.
How was it being faced with some challenges in courtship? Were there challenges that you faced? Surely there is no time where there won't be issues.
Between us?
Yes. Was there?
No, really.
When you had quarrels, or when you almost possibly
No,
say, let's give up?
not really quarrels.
Okay.
The challenges were really, everybody wanted to marry her, wanted to,
During the war.
during the war in particular, then things weren't coming in. Even those distributing the relief materials will tease her, hey, go to that your boy now to give you what they will give to other girls. So she really suffered a lot then, and then but she was able to cope with the challenges and difficulties and all that.
So let me hear that part from you, ma. How was it during that time? What were you thinking?
I don't know. I just saw him as my friend.
Okay.
And my parents initially were surprised because the other brother was coming to the house, just like a member of the family. And then this other one seemed to be showing more interest in me. And, my father was a bit concerned. So I don't know whether you remember. There was a time he came to the house before the war. Was it before the war? The time he said I should go. It was before the war. And then I was making my hair somewhere.
That was in June 67. The war started in July.
So my younger sisters called me that he was around. So I just came, covered my hair, came and saw him. I think he went to the Kingsway.
No, I was doing my vacation job in Shell. So we went to Shell Club. I was to visit her. We went to Shell Club and I bought chicken parts. I bought those small things, to bring to her from Shell Club in Port Harcourt. Yes.
So I after seeing him off, I kept those things he bought in the fridge, and I went back to go do my hair.
Yes.
My father came on break, and then he saw. I don't know how he opened the door. He saw those, and I asked, "Well, so they said he brought it." So he said he didn't say anything. So when he came back, and I came back, he said, "Oh, it looks like when I go to work, you're busy entertaining, and who brought that in bed?" I said, "Jordan brought it, sir." He said, "He brought it for you?" I said, "Yes, for us." He said, "Okay, I now understand. You know what will happen tomorrow? You're going to the village." We were in Port Harcourt then. So, and I think I said I called you or something, and then I told you, I said, I'm going to the village. So he now came to the house that day and sat tight.
Yes.
My father was there getting me ready to go home, and he was there. Eventually, the driver took himself and myself, dropped him at
the shelter,
and they took me to the village. So we didn't have problems.
Okay. Within each other.
I think it's mostly, concerned by parents, and I don't know what you're doing with this boy, but just be careful. That's what and we didn't have much problem.
Oh, okay. So let's now go. How did it now metamorphose to a wedding?
Look, it got to a stage. Let me be honest with you. It got to a stage, and people were now asking two of us, "Are you people brother and sister?" Because we'll be everywhere together. and I never went to the parents to carry drink or something to drop her. And so one day an uncle came to the house to see me and said, look, he gave me a parable that there was a ceremony in a particular town and people needed guns. People needed to borrow guns for the ceremony. And then one man now went to this family where they have many guns to borrow. He got there and he made the family, they were eating. And he said, please, join us to eat. And the man just sat down, started eating with them. Another person came. And when he was asked, please join us, the man said, no, I came for something important. I need a gun. And the man who was doing, that's what I came for. And then the family said, look, this one has already said it before you. So he gave me the message. You've been going to this family for the past how many years? You have not told them anything. In case another person who is more serious, and it was that same day in the evening, I went over to their house. And foolishly, on my own, I just carried one bottle of hot drink, not knowing that it's not it. You have to come with some. So her mother just laughed, and then So that was that. After that, we knew.
So how old were you both when you eventually married? I mean, let's know the date you married and what was your age then, sir?
We wedded April 11, 1977, Easter Monday.
Wow.
So I wedded at 31, and then
Yeah, we did at
27.
27.
Yes, 27. I 31. Yes.
So that was
what really delayed it. It was the Civil War that delayed it because her father insisted that she must graduate before. Because the way we were going, people thought we would have even wedded before we were 20 or 21. Yes, but we had to obey our parents.
Okay. Let me ask you, ma. Leaving your parents' home that you've lived for 27 years, how were you feeling that day?
After we were engaged for some time. We got engaged in 1970.
No, 73.
73.
When I just left university.
Okay.
Yes.
And between that 73 and when we got married, I was in university. And most of the time, he would come to the house. So, we are so familiar with, even the whole family, we are so familiar with each other. But I'll confess that the day of the traditional marriage, when I was living with him and his people, I cried. I just felt, so I'm now leaving home finally. And even my father cried. My mother cried that I was leaving them finally. But, it was...
Because she's number one in the family.
And we are made in the family. So for me to leave...
Yeah. And the first girl in the family too. And then, yes.
So, Daddy, what was it about that gave you confidence that you are actually in the right place?
Let me say this. From that phase there at the Students' Union meeting, I saw her as an intelligent girl. Really, my main issue was I must have an intelligent girl as a wife. I saw her she was quite smart at school anyway. And then another thing, I must say this. My mother used to be a matron of an Anglican girls' school, the Amuma Girls' School. And she also got into that school because of the war. And my mother really took after her. Just like her mother took me as a son, to be very candid. And let me tell you, even as an undergraduate, before my final year, I spent holidays in their house. I spent some days in their house.
Without your parents going against this?
No, without.
There was so much trust.
Honestly,
there was so much,
it was really.
They saw us as responsible people.
Yes.
There was so much trust.
Because I spent holidays in their house in Onitsha as an undergraduate. I don't. That is why I have when we had our girls, I knew that I wasn't going to prevent any of them from, associating with any person they really felt that yes. So that influenced my listening a lot. She was smart and then very open, very open. And maybe that was what spoiled me in a way because she wasn't demanding anything from me because I was a student. So it sort of spoiled me. That's why when I'm teased these days that I don't even remember to buy something, I say, well, you cost it because
now somebody will say I love you and then the next day they are demanding and if the person cannot meet, they leave the person. I don't feel good about that.
Were you working before you got married? Because
okay.
We have to also look at financial challenges of intending.
Okay, like you said, we eventually got engaged in 1973 when I just left university, and then I had gotten a job with Mobo. Okay. I started working, yes, and then she was about also finishing from university. So I started working so I could drive from Lagos to visit her in Nsukka, that sort of thing. So having started working also helped me, to show I could effectively,
go ahead.
Yes. Yes.
So, well, let's take something that we must have actually omitted. What did you study in university, sir?
I studied geology.
Geology, and mommy, you studied what?
For my first grade, I studied
Zoology. And she was really to have read medicine.
I read medicine.
Okay.
My father wanted me to be a doctor.
Oh.
And at a stage, her father wanted to send her out of the country.
Oh.
But I'm sure she manipulated that decision so that she.
How is it good to manage career, especially let's take for example where both are now working in different parts of the country? What do you think? How did they happen in your time, and what's your advice?
It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, working, your husband is working, you're working, and then you have children. For him, his work was very demanding. Actually, I didn't study to be a teacher. That was part of why I decided to be a teacher, because you have more time to take care of the children. It's easier then, or it was easier then because we could get people who could come and who would help you take care, at least look after the children. And I managed to get a school that was very near the house. Okay. So I didn't have to worry so much. And that was why within that period, I was able to do my master's degree because, I had weekends to study, I had time. But now things are a bit different because it's difficult for young people now to get reliable people to take care of their children. Although now we have creches and daycares, but one also has to be very careful to make sure that you're going to a place where your child will be very well taken care of. It is not easy, but it's not an impossible thing. It takes planning, it takes being careful, and then it also takes the grace of God.
So what has been the greatest challenge you faced for 42 years?
These 42 years.
What has been the greatest challenge that you faced, that you can remember, that at this particular time it was so tough?
Okay, let me tell you.
All right.
My mother died a month of my wedding, and I was number one. My mother had 9 of us. I was number one. So the challenge I had was after our marriage, my younger sibling had to come stay with me, to come and live with me. So it was a bit stressful for us. We were young people. Me, I didn't know anything about raising children, but that period was a bit stressful for us. even the financial and everything. And also he will tell you the issues he had in his office, because I think he shorted somebody who absconded with the loan. So he had to pay back. So things were a bit tight. So it took a lot of God's grace for us to be able to manage. But we succeeded, and I'm happy to say that all my siblings, they all got good education, they're all married now, and they all appreciate us. Because when they're always looking back and say, if not for my sister and her husband, probably we wouldn't have been well with her. So for me, that was the most difficult time.
So, can you remember any difficult time apart from this?
No, to be candid, I don't think, as far as our relationship or marriage, we've had. But like she pointed out, there was a time. Let me tell you this, because it could happen to any other person. When I left Mobile, I went for my postgraduate, came back, and started working in the NNPC. And when they reintroduced car loans, I felt I could help people with guaranteeing them. And I didn't even know the details that you had a limit of number of people you could guarantee. And a lot of friends now brought their forms, and because I was a senior officer, I will guarantee. And then one of them, after buying his car, just took off to the US without even telling me and the other guy who co-sponsored him. And the office just insisted we had to be paying back. Imagine paying back another person's car loan and paying your own car loan. That was the time she talked of. It was really serious. But then she had a way of, she had a group of friends that will buy things collectively. From Lagos, they will go to Moniyan, Ibadan, so Moniyan, Ibadan, to buy meat and share. So we devised ways of managing the situation. It was really tough, and I must tell you, but we had financial discipline. That was very important. Financial discipline, and I also had a habit. Come back from work, head to the tennis court. Yeah, that was mine. Then play and come back home, Well, if you had come to my office when I had something in my office, and people used to enjoy it a lot. Never trust a relationship until money is involved. Yes. Never trust a relationship until money is involved. Yes.
So, what other secrets can we explore for an healthy relationship like this?
Just friendship. Make sure your wife, or make sure your spouse is your friend. And that was what helped us with our long period of friendship. Because just make sure your spouse is your friend.
For me, I think being prayerful was very useful.
Okay.
I learned early. My grandmother was very grounded in Christianity. So I learned early that every morning you must pray for your husband, for your children, and tell God how you want it to be. So that was like discipline for me. So it was a bit prayerful. When things got bad then, with all that financial problem, I would just ask God to intervene and
So, this marriage must have produced children. How many are they? And are they all married?
Yeah, we have 4 children, 1 boy and 3 girls, and they are all married.
Wow.
So we have, right now, we have 9 grandchildren.
Wow. That's good. And I think we can see some of them in this picture.
I always tease them that they now have their own local government. Yes. And then we have what we call the empty nest syndrome. Empty nest syndrome. Just only 2 of us in the whole house.
So I normally tell women, and I tell men, I say, treat your wife well when people are young. Because as time goes on, it will be 2 of you left. And if you didn't take care of your wife, number 1, she will not be healthy. Number 2, even yourself will not be healthy. And then number 3, she will be looking for a mobile to go to leave you.
To leave you at home.
So I think if there's good bonding or relationship between a man and a wife. When they are older, they will enjoy their old age. But if that bond was not there, and the woman starts having grandchildren, she will be very anxious to be going from one place to the other.
Okay, I hope you've been enjoying this episode. Just to take this last break as I go into the last lap of this interview, and stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The Anglican Cable Network Nigeria, ACNN, is your most reliable gospel TV station that brings to you quality TV programming which build your spiritual life and enhance your walk with God through the undiluted Word of God. Join us on our social media platforms anytime you miss your favorite program. Subscribe to our YouTube channel with the address www.youtube.com/ACNNTV and click that video that matters to you.
Protect your vote is a euphemistic way of saying do everything to make sure you can share blood, you can kill, to ensure that the person you voted for is the one that emerged as a winner at the end of the day.
There is never a dull moment on our Facebook page as we are dedicated to keep you informed with the up-to-date news about the church and other information. Just log on to www.facebook.com/ACNNTV for you can now watch some of our programs live on your mobile device. Follow us on Twitter with the handle @ACNNTV.com and you'll be glad you did. So now, there is no longer regret each time you miss any episode of your favorite programs, as you can now watch them on the go, anytime, anywhere. ACNN. We are indeed reaching the world with the undiluted Word of God.
It's good to know you are still there, and the exclusive is just, this episode is about rounding up. I have a few more questions for my couple here, and we just have to look at comparing marriages of your days, 1960s, and what we have now. What do you think are the differences between what we have in those days and now? Let's even look at the issue of courtship. Do we have people who can actually court for 13 years again now? Yes, that.
I doubt whether that level of patience is still available these days. Most people feel they should go into marriage when they must have really prepared themselves for marriage.
Okay.
So, issue of long courtships, I'm not sure that is still tenable these days for very obvious reasons. Yes.
Okay, so Mommy, what are the differences you've seen in marriages of nowadays and your time?
You know, we are analog people. And this is the 21st century. That everything is moving fast. Like you said, I don't think people have that type of patience now to wait. And another thing is that girls now, they want to finish their careers before they even start thinking of marriage. And by the time they finish their careers, they find out that it's not very easy now to be married. Because sometimes the guy you met in the university, by the time you finish, would have gone to marry one younger person. So times are different. And now with the internet and all that, people date on the internet and they meet themselves there, they marry. During our own time, people, before you marry, your parents will want to know, about the family, and they will want to know about your own family. So parents are involved, and they are sure that where their child is going to is a good place. But right now, even before you say something, they're already getting married, they're already engaged and all that. So it's not the same. And then we used to listen to our parents, but nowadays children hardly listen to their parents. Even if you say, let's check where you're going, they're in a hurry. So people are not as
Patient.
I don't know what I would call responsible or respectful. Like we used to, defer to our parents. If parents say don't go there, don't go. But now, even if you like, talk from now till next tomorrow, if a girl has made up her mind that this is the person he wants to marry, no matter what, even if the man is not doing anything, the girl goes there and then she goes there to go and suffer. You know, so that's the difference. Girls are more, they have careers, and I think also that now the careers of the girls are very important to them. You in our own time, you want to sit, at least have children, take care of your children before you start. But now they want to finish everything. By the time they finish and they want to settle down, many of them didn't learn anything from home, because from secondary school they go to university and like that. They don't know the first thing about running a home, so they go unprepared. Even the men, the boys, they don't know anything about taking care of a home or taking care of their family. So there are so many issues. There are many challenges that they face. Children are not prepared now. They leave home early. Some of them by night and they are in secondary school. From there they go to universities. They haven't learned anything. So they're not prepared for marriage. So that's why a lot of marriages are breaking down. And the children, many of them are not even, many of them don't know God. Because like I said, from early years I knew that, if you hand things to God, God will help you at his own time anyway, but you will see a useful. But now, it's when they are now looking for husband and wife, they run into Pentecostal churches and all that, and by the time they go there, they are matchmade, and they matchmake them, and they don't, it doesn't go well for them. So, like I said, the challenges are many on their part.
Okay.
And I think we parents, we need to be more prayerful about our children.
So can we now deal more with all these vices of these days that have been causing collapses in marriages? Like you mentioned, online dating and go. These are some challenges that young people of nowadays that will face. What will you advise, ma'am? Is it good for somebody to date online? Is it still good for you to do a background check of who you are about to marry? Is it still good?
I agree with that. I think it's always good to have a background check of who you want to marry. You cannot just find somebody online and you don't even know who the person is. Because what you see online is not even actually who the person is. Most of the time they go to the best photographer, they take good shots of them, and then they put themselves there. Probably either the girl or the man, they are not even doing anything useful. They've seen them there and they say a lot of things about themselves. You think it's true. So by the time they get into it and get so much involved, it's a problem. So I think it's good before you marry to know who you want to marry. And if it is possible, to be friends with that person for some time. Because it's during that time that you really are able to know the person well.
Yes, sir. As a man, sir, your advice for a young man who is planning to take up a young lady. Some of them possibly don't have a job. And looking at the economy these days, it is actually hard for a young graduate to get a job. And that is also a big problem nowadays that makes even some young men not to think about marriage even at 35, at close to 40, because they don't have what it takes. And then to ladies who look after wealthy hands, they don't even want to know the source of the income. What's your advice, sir?
The advice is one, make sure you are really ready to get married before going into marriage. Make sure you are ready emotionally, and I will add financially, because you are bringing someone else into your life, and you don't bring that person, and maybe each day there are quarrels over funds are not available to buy this or to even feed. So it's unfortunate that in this day and age, getting employment or getting jobs is not that easy. I got my job before I left university. I was still writing my exams when my offer letter was brought to me in UI. Yes, I hadn't finished writing my exams because they were basing all these maybe your penultimate year results and then interviews and all that. So as long as you don't see marriage as a commitment, but these days they see marriage as being contractual. And as long as you see marriage as a contract, just like you cut off contracts. And that's why it's easy now for marriages to just be
Break up.
yes, to break up, yeah, because there's a difference between commitment in marriage and you don't have to be rich to have a happy home. Yes, there are some homes, even if they take palm kernel, they chew palm kernel before going to bed, they still wake up happy, you know. And that was what in my book I put it that a community at peace can share the leg of an ant, but a community in conflict will fight over the leg of an elephant. Yes. So that's, you must have that commitment. Yes, that commitment, and then see how you face challenges and be yourself. Most boys these days, most young men these days, try to present a fake life. And the moment you do that, and you know, ladies are very sensitive about falsehood, you know. So a man should present himself as he is. Like I said, I was a student most of the time, we were friends. So, yes, I mean, I wouldn't pretend that take a photo and send to her, oh, my car is parked somewhere, my this, you know, that which swells the head of a lady or whatever. So, you must be truthful, you must be yourself, you must be natural. And then, see when you are ready to get married. So that is a commitment. See when you're ready.
So to ladies, what will you also say to the other side of them? Looking at some fall into the hands of those who pretend, those who entice
Well, that was
them.
what she was talking of, doing due diligence. It's important. The moment you see beyond that individual and see the family will let you know the true situation of the person you want to marry. Yes, there must be that. It's not between just two people. You know, if I, honestly, from the one her mother saw in me, I'll say it anywhere, saw in me as somebody for her daughter. Yes, because I will visit, she will prepare food, ask us to go into a room and eat together as a student. You know, these days you can't hear of this type of thing. Yes. So it's a question of really having the trust of the family you're going into. So that's why I'm not very comfortable with all this online dating and all that, because it's all fake. And you've had instances of what's been happening to some of the young ladies and all that. Yes. So.
Let me still take up the issue of finances with you, ma. What do you advise a young couple, especially the woman in the house, when there are hard times financially?
I will advise a woman to try and plan her spending. If you plan your spending, you'll be able to manage what you have. But my challenge now is that a lot of young men, they are not pulling themselves together. Some young men now marry girls because they feel that the girl has money. And probably some women, they will know that the man is not doing anything, and they keep hoping that when they get married, the man will improve. But I'll tell you, a man who is used to not taking care of himself can never take care of another person. So that's part of why marriages are breaking, because now you find out that a lot of marriages are being financed by women, because it looks like it's easier for girls now to get jobs. It also looks like it's easier for girls to be more committed in the marriage, because when children start coming, the burden becomes more for the lady who is financing the marriage. But the only thing is, a lot of young men now just use it as a meal ticket. You get married to a girl who is working, and and after a time you now feel that you're the best thing that happened to her. But I think sometimes girls will fall into that trap. They find themselves doing that. But as time when children start coming, the challenges become more, and that's also part of why some of the marriages are breaking. So I'll advise a lady, make sure that a man is doing something, or that a man has the capability of this, because I know that a lot of girls, fathers-in-law, will want to help a son-in-law to get a job, even if it's help anyhow to help. But if a young man cannot maintain a job, after a time the in-laws will encourage their children, their girls to leave. So that's the thing. So I encourage girls to make sure that before you marry, know the man, make sure that this is a man that at least can take care of himself. Even if he's not able to take care of you, can take care of you, but he's able to take care of himself.
Now, you mentioned something we are about to go into, that's in-law. How do we manage in-law issues?
I even think that now there's the issue of in-laws is not as much as during our own time, because in our own time the in-laws were not doing much, so they depended on us. But now we find that a lot of the in-laws, they are women that have worked or are working, so they are not depending on their children. Even children now depend, even after getting married, they depend on their parents now. So that in-law thing is not as bad as it used to be. And now a couple can decide to be during Christmas, they stay in the town. During that own time, during Christmas you must get home, so you must stay with your in-law, cook, wash and all that. So in-law issue is not as it used to be. It's no longer, sometimes you can get married now, they can get married, they may not even see their in-laws for 1 year, for 2 years. So when they see, they smile. And you see the mother-in-law, father, they're always trying to give them things because they know that they are managing things. So that problem is not as bad as it used to be.
Okay, sir, let me ask you something that may actually be, or let me say something that is running rampant across the world, especially in the Western world. The issue of gay marriages and which has even crept into the church. Do you support gay marriage?
Definitely. As an Anglican, as a Christian, and knowing my background, I was born in the vicarage. There is no way I will subscribe to any marriage outside as instituted by God and as in the Bible. The issue is this: there is what one will call systemic failure, global systemic failure. And unfortunately, the church that should really guide the system is allowing the system to now guide it. I recall a sermon that was preached by the prelate of the Methodist Church, that Professor Bolaji Idowu. This was in 1966 in Ibadan. He preached and he said, the church is so scared of losing population that is allowing a lot of things in the society to influence it. Go and read the scriptures and follow the guide of our conscience. You see that marriage is really between a man and a woman to be able to procreate. Otherwise, why will a man and a man marry and you want to adopt
a
children?
child.
How did the child come about?
Thank you very much, sir. Let me say on the last note, what is your advice, ma'am, for young couples?
For me, I think young couples should learn to be patient. We should be patient, we should be careful, and we should be careful.
Thank you so much, sir, and Lady Jonas Adocha, for this beautiful time. And I'm sure that when we come back, you'll still be patient with us.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure having this opportunity.
Thank you very much, sir. And it's been nice having a couple who has lived together for 42 years on our show today. The Exclusive has brought to you by the Anglican Cable Network Nigeria, ACNN. Until next time that we shall be coming to you again with another interesting and exciting episode, I remain your host. Thank you and God bless you.